Hi, DJ Tina here, host of HMTV Canada Easing. On the phone with me today is Vancouver-based Decius Doom. Hi guys, I couldn't believe it what the band was going through when I read your bio, but I guess what don't kill us makes us stronger, eh? How is everybody doing?
Well, trying to rebuild off of what happened a couple years ago has been extremely difficult, especially trying to... No one can replace our bass player's position within the band, and it's proving to be very emotional to try to find somebody willing to stand in for that. I liken it kind of to the experience of when Metallica tried to find another bass player after Cliff Burton passed. They put anybody that was interested in it, they put them through hell. And it's the kind of... Anyone that's come to try out with us has gotten that as a warning. You have to understand, we lost our best friend. He passed away very unexpectedly, and it's really taken a horrible toll on all of us, even though it's been almost 2 years now. It's as if it just happened yesterday to a lot of us, especially me.
Sorry to hear about your loss of your bass player, Damien Poe. You produced the video Dying in My Dreams in memory of Damien?
Well, the Dying in My Dreams video that actually I think you're referring to was a promo video for the album. The album was Dying in My Dreams, but pretty much the entire record was in his memory. In fact, a good deal of the lyrics taken for that record was taken from his own personal diary. Luckily enough, his parents, Bill and Donnie, were very supportive of the band. Very supportive of me after what happened. They actually gave me one of his bass guitars and a bunch of his diaries and said, I don't know what you could do with this, but, here, hopefully something. So I set out to do a rock and roll memorial, and I hope that's what I managed to do.
Okay. And your current lineup is still the same, of Decius Doom's vocals and guitar, yourself, Decius W. Kane, and guitars and vocals, Pantheus Pancreas, live drums, and you're not looking for a bass player right now?
Well, originally what happened after Damien passed, everyone that was currently in the band actually within a period of about 3 weeks left. My drummer at the time, Roddy Lee, he said that he couldn't... He said that the passing was tragic, but he knew that would be very destructive for me. So he actually sold his drum kit and joined the Navy. Oh. Our guitar player at the time stopped returning my calls. Our keyboard player at the time moved out of state. I mean, when I say they left the band, they left the band.
Oh, boy. Sorry to hear that.
So it's just really been the last year or so that we have tried putting effort into building a live band again. It's been very emotional. Luckily, the drums on the album were done by Brian Smith. Brian Smith is, if you ask me, he's the greatest drummer in the world. He can do things that I've never seen any other drummer ever do in front of a kid. And he is actually the reason why Dying in My Dreams was done. After Damien passed and everyone kind of abandoned the project, I quit. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I was, to put it lightly, I was as suicidal as a person can get. I had lost my best friend, I had lost a bandmate, and it just, it killed me. It absolutely destroyed me, and I was doing a lot of very self-destructive things at the time. And Brian, I knew Brian back when his group Hemlock, who are still tremendous friends of mine. He was their drummer, and they did a lot of touring work and things like that. And he contacted me, and he said, I know what you're going through. I have a good idea of what you're going through. I know you're going to want to try to quit. I don't want you to do that. I'm going to go into the studio, and I'm going to lay some drum tracks down, and I'm going to send it to you. You have to do something with that. And Brian had been there for me for, on and off, for 10 years. I mean, he had seen a lot of bad things in my life, and has really been a very supportive person for me. So when he gave me the opportunity to do that, I said, well, maybe I'll give this a try. And I went in with his drum tracks, and I called an old guitar player friend of mine, and he got a hold of a keyboard player we used to know, and we ended up working together, Brian, in Las Vegas to create this album.
Wow. I can tell from the hard, heavy sounds of your music and death metal screams that your influences and inspiration come from everything in the band that has been through and the negativity. Is that correct?
That's definitely a really good way to put it. A lot of our previous sounds, I used to like to try to create records built around a theme. When we did The High Priest of Hatred, the whole concept behind it was supposed to be like an emotional journey through the end of the world. I took, quotes from the Bible and quotes from Nietzsche and different areas like that to create that. But when it came time to do Dying in My Dreams, I really had the whole theme was Damien. That was my whole focus and the things that I was going through at the time. Listening to it, the Dying in My Dreams is very much kind of a now record in terms of what I'm going through, my friends, my family, the people that have been supportive. The very first track, the Memorial Song, that is so many of the people that were directly involved with Damien's past. His girlfriend at the time, Johanna, his mom is the person that actually wraps up the very end of that song. So it's Dying in My Dreams is a very kind of now record for us. It was everything that was going on in hardships, and as especially if you listen to the record, there's a lot of references to suicide and self-destruction, things like that, because that's a lot of what I was going through at the time.
If I could describe your songs, it's like the world of negativity of the world is bearing down on your shoulders. Have you ever thought of writing about good times and partying in the future now that you just released this album?
Yeah, that's actually a really awesome question. As far as writing about good times, it's hard. It's especially hard for me personally. I've always said that God wanted me to be a quote-unquote gothic musician because he has kept me in suffering and despair my entire life. I mean, just in the last 10 or 15 years of my life, I've lost almost everyone close to me. I lost Damien. I lost my son Gabriel in 2003, or 2015, sorry. And my grandparents and all these influences and important people in my life. Just recently, just a couple weeks ago, we lost Gene.
Oh my God.
He's a bass player. He used to work with Marilyn Manson back in the Spooky Kids days. He's been working with the Dollygaggers lately in a group called People. And, you know, it's one thing after another. You know, we're all underground musicians, and we all kind of work within the same circuit into a lost Gene, you know. I didn't know him personally, but it still affected me because, you know, he's an underground goth brother, so to speak. So it's hard to write about good times and things like that because even when things are looking up, there's still bad things going on. You know?
Yeah, it makes it really tough.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it makes it really tough to write about.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to write about what a bright sunny day it is when it's always raining outside.
Yeah, I agree. Does the band feel they have raised awareness in society for a human race to stop violence in all your music?
You know, that's always been a definite goal of mine. I think the message in a lot of ways gets misconstrued a lot. I had a person recently email me, tell me one of their favorite things to do is to listen to my music with their friends, and they get really pumped up and they go and they vandalize churches. And I go, you know, I'm definitely not a fan of church, and I'm not particularly a fan of organized religion, but that is not at all what we're about, you know. I use a lot of really horrific imagery in the things that I write because I'm using them as an example against what you want, you know. Like The Nation of Annihilation, that's probably one of our best-known songs off the new record. It is about the country, the United States, being extremely obsessed with violence.
Exactly, yeah. I picked that up right away when I heard your music.
And, you know, it bothers me. You know, I understand the importance of the memorial for September 11th, but at the same time, when you put it everywhere, not only does it tend to dull down the impact of actually what happened here that day, but I mean, it's in certain ways become a joke. I mean, I've seen memorials and tributes and one-liners on late night and things like that about September 11th, and, you know, we're obsessed with it. We're obsessed with violence and horror movies, you know. And don't get me wrong, I love horror movies. I go to see as many as I possibly can, but at the same time, you know, if all we're doing is surrounding ourselves with violence, we will become violent.
Yeah, because all we're doing in reality is feeding off of it.
Exactly. I got an email from a wrestler in the WWE a few months back. He said that he wanted to use The Nation of Annihilation as his entrance music with the WWE. And, you know, I'm a real big fan of irony, and it kind of struck me. Why do you want to use a song that is kind of detrimental towards violence in America to open a wrestling match? That bothered me.
Yeah, I would, of course.
And, you know, I like to think that sometimes the message of, you know, it's a roundabout way of promoting love, really. I mean, a lot of people look at me and they listen to the things that I say and they, oh, you must be influenced by this because they're really dark and hateful. Oh, you must really like this. And no. You ask me what one of my biggest influences is? John Lennon. I love John Lennon. Mm-hmm. If you listen to things that he was writing, the things that he was thinking, they were phenomenal. You know, talking about love and mass appeal and worldwide peace. That's very, very appealing to me. I know you probably won't believe it listening to the things that I do.
But you know, in reality, with file sharing, a lot of the old masters and John Lennon have gone lost. And kids, they buy them up on vinyl and they wonder, well, who is this? And and vinyl's rare. And CDs have become a rare commodity too. So a lot of them have become forgotten.
Yeah, and believe me, don't think it doesn't break my heart in a lot of different ways. I mean, I'll be honest, I was not raised around the best music. I mean, my perennial influence was essentially things like Debbie Gibson and Michael Jackson. So if there's anyone that doesn't like the things that I think about, the things I speak about, go blame Debbie Gibson, okay? But, you know, I discovered John Lennon by listening to Oasis, of all things, because their song Don't Look Back in Anger. The very beginning of that is the piano intro to Imagine. And I read that and I thought, wow, you know, I really like that piano intro. Let me find out who John Lennon is.
Oh, yes.
I don't think a lot of people right now are making that effort. You know, Dear God young people, if there's a band you like, find out who influences them. Take it all the way back.
Oh, yes. I still have the first John Lennon vinyl record.
Do you really?
Yes, and I only played it twice, and I got it stored away in a vault.
I have an original pressing of Lennon and Yoko Shaved Fish that has, Woman is the Nigger of the World and Imagine and Power to the People, Instant Karma, all the, that's it. Just someone go out and buy one of those collector's editions with just the greatest hits. Start from there.
Oh, yeah. I got the Who on red vinyl as one of my collectors. I've got, actually, I started a pick session up on myspace.com, HMTV Canada e-zine of all my vinyl collection, including the 45s that I have of the Beatles in my collection.
Look at that.
Oh, yes.
The prize of my collection, I am a tremendous Doors fan.
I love the Doors. I got them on CD and vinyl.
Oh, yeah. I have Doors vinyl. I actually I have an 8-track player because I still have Doors on 8-track.
Wow, that's awesome.
Although I can't really say still. I'm pretty sure that the 8-track went out before I was born, but hey.
Yeah, hey, that's
Her music is exactly where it's at, and a lot of people don't realize that. I recently read an article in Blender, which I don't read a lot of music magazines. Occasionally I'll look in there, but most of them, they piss me off. I don't feel like they're handling things the way they should. And I was reading Blender magazine, and they did this article that was the 33 most overrated things in music.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, so this should be funny. And a couple of bits on there actually were funny. They had Thinking Jesus. No, he did not help you make your stupid little rap record. I thought that was funny. Thanking Satan. No, Satan did not help you make your stupid heavy metal album. I think that's funny. So I'm scrolling down and I'm reading through this, and one of the things on there says, it is extremely overrated to listen to music before you were born.
Yeah.
I froze. The average person that's going to read Blender, is probably between the ages, I would say, maybe 18 and, 25. And, 18 years old, they were born in 1990. There's a lot of stuff they're going to miss out. And it frightens me to think that someone reading Blender is going to take that little comment seriously. Could you imagine if they decide to, in one way or another, ignore the music that came out before 1990?
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sakes, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction was 1987. So it just horrifies me. Honestly, I'll tell people, if you have a choice between getting a Decius Doom record or getting a record of the Doors or Guns N' Roses or The Who, something like that, please do get them instead. You'll understand a bit more where I'm coming from, and if I can turn one more person onto the Doors, it's one less person for me, I don't care.
Can you tell us about the hate mail that the band is receiving currently?
Hate mail, I love hate mail. I love hate mail almost as much as I like fan mail. In fact, depending on the content, sometimes more. I get a lot from religious people because I will use a lot of, they call it satanic imagery. I don't always know that that's bad, but, all I ever try to do in the things that I write and the things that we create is put across new concepts. Think of something like this, or hey, have you considered this? Or sometimes we did a song in 2006 called The War on God. I got a lot of hate mail for that song.
Oh, wow.
And the whole concept behind it is, it's actually not even proposing an idea. It's about a story from the Bible. It's about Lucifer becoming upset with the way things were being run, the fact that God was bestowing more attention on people on earth. And so he made a play for heaven. And the chorus of that song also has a lot to do with the way religion is perceived now. If you're all familiar with Joel Osteen, I am a strong opposer against Joel Osteen. He is a well-known Southern televangelist.
Oh, I've never heard of them. No. So it's
he's pretty psychotic. In fact, I'm reasonably sure he's heard of me too. But yeah, we get a lot of hate mail from people saying, you are going to hell. Well, all right, I really don't have a problem with that. I don't entirely, really believe in hell. Frankly, if I go to some place like Los Angeles, I'm surrounded by people blasting music that I don't care for, preaching things about Jesus in my ear, I consider that to be hell.
Okay.
You want to put me in a really hot room with a bunch of people that believe the same shit that I am? How is that hell exactly? They say that I'm influencing people in a bad way or that I'm making them do things, and I'm really not. I'm singing about literature, I'm singing about history. One of my favorite phrases to tell people right now is, if you don't like the things that I say, all you have to do is change your world. I won't have to sing about it no more.
Yeah, well, basically you're just telling people the world as you see it, in your view, and you're educating them, letting them know what's out there and the experiences that you have gone through in your life. That's all it really is.
And I'm glad that you understand.
It's nothing. I can't see why people would hate you over it. I mean, this is your experience, this is your life, this is what you've been going through and the pain that you've experienced, and the music is your avenue to release that pain.
Well, and that's extremely well said. In fact, if I can get you to start opening up our con, phenomenal.
Okay.
But, to be fair, you are coming from a Canadian state of mind.
Yeah.
Fan of Canada. I've done a lot of research. In fact, the second time that Bush was reelected, I put a lot of research into possibly moving the band to Canada.
Maybe you should.
I was concerned. But, Canadian state of mind. I really like Canada. I've been through there. I've spent time there. And what I like about it is that, for the most part, your guys' government and your kind of aura to dealing with politics is very, we're going to talk things out. We're going to try to see their opinion on things, and we'll come to an agreement. Mm-hmm. Love this. That's why I think Canada is very, very cool. I don't like to hear other people badmouthing Canada because I feel like, well, either you don't understand what, for the most part, they're all about, or you're against what they're about. In that case, you're kind of against what I'm about.
The one thing we don't do is shove religion down people's throats. We have a lot of multicultural communities that have different strokes, different folks, different religions, and we all respect each other.
And see, that's wonderful. That's one of the things that America was based on, or was supposed to have been based on. But the whole concept has kind of become really confused. A lot of people say, oh, this is the country you still come to if you want freedom of religion, freedom of choice. Well, yes, that's true. You have to realize you're also going to be severely persecuted for that.
Oh my God, are you serious? Over there in the U.S.?
I tell people that I associate with the Church of Satan. I do have friends within the Church of Satan. I'm not actually a member. I'm a big believer in what Groucho Marx said. I will not belong to any organization that would have me as a member. But you tell people that you're associated with the Church of Satan, and especially in this country, they hear the word Satan, automatically you're the enemy.
That's craziness.
I know. I mean, it's like, I have not broken into your house. I haven't written pentagrams on the wall. I have not raped your daughter. I haven't done all these horrible things. But at the same time, you associate these really horrible things that for the most part people have made up. And, they inflict it upon things they don't understand. Mm-hmm. I was actually just recently reading a book written by the Dalai Lama that's called Living and Dying in Peace. Because I've been sick the last 4 months. And I don't exactly know what's wrong with me. And if it's something that's going to be really horrible, I thought, well, I should probably read a book on dying in peace. So if these people give me bad news, I'll at least know how to cope with it at the time. And one of the things that was written in there that I thought was particularly brilliant is that all misconceptions and bad assumptions and things like that, they all come from ignorance. Any kind of bad, negative, disturbing emotion that someone has comes from ignorance. And I think that's what a lot of the hate mail that we get is people don't quite understand what we're trying to do. I mean, I tell people,
that is
be yourself, do what you can, live in peace. There's no reason to hurt somebody else unless they hurt you. If they hurt you, fuck them up.
Yeah, that's, I think too, like, they don't understand what the band is all about and the pain that you have gone through. And if these people who are writing all the hate mail and making all these threats had been living in Canada, they'd be under charges under the BNA Act, because you're not allowed to discriminate against anybody when it comes to religion, race, or sex, or anything like that.
Well, they have things like that here. They definitely do. In fact, I have recently become, again, not a member. I don't belong to anything, but I'm a big supporter of a group called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Have you ever heard of them?
No, that's new.
They started back in the 70s. They're starting to get more press and things like that now. There's I know there's organizations all over the United States. I believe there's a few in Canada as well. What they do is it's a group of usually guys that dress like nuns. A combination of nuns and drag, if you can imagine that.
Okay.
And what they do is they go out and they have fun and they make appearances at organizations, and they're completely non-charitable. And they make this money to go toward safer sex practices and awareness and AIDS treatment and research and just general education of the public. Because, I mean, let's face it, everyone likes to think that sex isn't happening, but let's face it, sex is happening.
Mm-hmm, right.
And that's a lot of what conservatives in this country have a big problem with. And that's okay, because I have a big problem with conservatives. So, hey. I think, honestly, the biggest problem with the conservatives is that they're trying to get whatever they held dear to them 20 or 30 years ago. But you see, 20 or 30 years ago, they were conservative. They were trying to get things back to where they were 20 or 30 years before that. So eventually, everyone's a conservative if they don't change their opinions. I mean, I have what I believe right now. If I kept those beliefs for another 30 years, things are going to be a lot different.
Right.
So a conservative is just someone that I believe is really, really behind in the times. Pay attention. Things are happening whether you want them to or not. I like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence because even though they started 20, 30 years ago, they have evolved. They have become a lot of what's now. They're going to work to educate people and tell people about different things, safer sex practices, take care of yourself. We're aware that the whole world is basically alternative now to what it was 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, and still changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what humans do. And there's another word that a lot of conservatives and politicians and Christians especially don't like, the word evolution. We as people evolve. That's what we do. We evolve when we wake up. By the end of the day, we are not the same person. On January 1st, we are one person. December
We learn by our mistakes most of all.
Exactly. We learn by our mistakes, by our influences, and hopefully, by the end of the day, we're a little bit smarter and we have a better idea of what's going on. Not always the case, but that's, what as people, that's what we try to do. And people don't like the word evolution because it implies that we have to change. A lot of people are afraid of change. I don't like that. I think a lot of what we are as humans in existence has to do with evolution. We have to move on, we have to move forward, because if you're not moving forward, you're going to be left back.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. A thing I was curious about, you're saying that Decius Dooms has never sold a single copy of any of their albums, and what brings me to my question is why hasn't your music been released?
It has been released. It's not like we're trying to sell them and none of them's ever been sold. It's not like that. I have a lot of, when I refer to myself on the MySpace page and on our website, which is currently being built, and a lot of times in person, I refer to myself as Führer, which is totally a Third Reich reference. There's a lot of references in my music and in things I've written to Hitler and the Third Reich, and I can explain that in a few minutes. I refer to myself as Führer because I control most of the elements of the band at all times. Because when I started doing this, when I set out, I had some ideas, and they have evolved absolutely since I've been doing this. But I have opinions. I'm sure you and anybody listening that has listened to the last few minutes of this kind of get the idea. I am very opinionated.
Yeah.
Sometimes at length. And the things that I have set forth as far as bands, they will change, I'm sure, unfortunately, in the future. But I like the way things are now. I believe that music belongs to the people. Now, I am not promoting MP3 downloading and stealing records and things like that. That is not right. I mean, if someone has gone the time to spend a lot of money and said, hey, we're going to sell this, it is your duty as a fan to buy it. Don't steal it. I'm sorry if the record's crap, return it, but don't steal it. There's no reason to do that. And I know they say a lot of bands, they have a lot of money, and that's true to a certain extent. But if you want the band to still be around, they have to still be making money. If you look at Metallica, if everyone went out and downloaded their last album, they would get no money from it. And a lot of people say, okay, well, Metallica has a lot of money, that's not so bad. But if the records aren't selling, the record label's going to drop them.
Exactly.
The record label drops them, they're not going to get re-signed anywhere else.
Yeah,
they won't still be making music.
Right. And when a fan says, why can't you come to our town and play? It's because you're not making any money selling CDs.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Right now, gas is, $5-something a gallon. You have to sell CDs to be able to get on the road.
Exactly.
You need gas money.
Yes.
So I believe that music belongs to the people. And, you get a much larger appeal if someone doesn't have to pay for it. And that's one of the things that I have kind of set forth is our last God knows how many records I refuse to sell. I've had people straight up hand me money. I've handed it back.
Wow.
I want you to let me pay for this because I don't want you to. Because I want you to take the CD, take it home. If you like it, I want you to take the money you would have given me, take it to Rite Aid, buy a fat stack of blank CDs, burn 1,000 copies of it, hand it to any person you meet on the street. And you know what?
Yeah, I'm there.
You know what? I might not be able to drive a big, luxurious car, but you know how many people can sing along to one of my songs? That, to me, is immortality. The fact that if someone can look at me and go, dude, I know the words to one of your songs, that is better than anything I could possibly imagine. So what if I haven't made any money off of it? I don't care. Money doesn't get you everything. I tell you what, if I had to pay someone to learn the songs, the words to one of my songs, I would do it.
But you got to remember, too, your music is really powerful, and so are your lyrics. And there are probably a lot of people that once they can understand and read into your music and understand where you're coming from, they can relate their experiences with what you have gone through. And there's a lot of them out there.
Exactly, I appreciate that. And that's exactly one of the things that I, have always strived for. And, it's because that I don't charge for copies of the CDs or, I have put a lot of money into albums. I will straight up admit that. I cannot tell you how much money and time and effort and emotion that I put into making Dying in My Dream. I mean, there are several songs on there like A Funeral by the Bay. The first 3 months after we recorded that and released the album, I could not listen to that song all the way through without crying. I mean, breaking down hard crying because the emotion and intensity that I try to put into that. And no amount of money is going to make up for that. I don't want it. And it's because that we've put these free records out that I have gotten emails from people all over the world. I did not have CDs for sale in the Philippines. I got little Filipino teenagers emailing me, telling me how much my record has affected them.
Wow.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, we did an album called The Great American Deformity, which is still one of my favorite album titles. And I gave it to a friend, and he took it home and he listened to it, and he got a hold of me and said, I hope you don't mind, I gave it to my son. I gave a copy of the record to my son. I'm like, no, I don't mind, that's absolutely what it's for. His son was 19 years old, had joined the army, was being sent to Baghdad.
Wow.
He, The Great American Deformity, made like 200 copies of it. He told me it was between 150 and 200 copies of it. Put it into little CD sleeves, wrote the band information on it, was handing it out, soldiers and citizens on the street in Baghdad.
That's awesome.
And if if I was some jackass fan saying, no, don't make copies, don't send it out, that wouldn't have happened. You know, we have merch that's up for sale off of a third-party website. I don't sell a lot of it. I ask people not to buy it because, honestly, I think if you really want to show effort, save your money. Take, you know, the 15 or 20 bucks you would have spent on a t-shirt, take it to Walmart. Well, don't go to Walmart. I don't like Walmart. You know, take it to some independent fabric store, whatever town you live in. Buy a blank t-shirt and some markers. Make your own Decius Doom t-shirt. Have it say whatever you want it to say. Don't give me your money. I don't need your money. I appreciate it, but, you know, hopefully sometime soon we'll come to your town, take that money you would have spent on a t-shirt, come see us. Make your own shirts. I love to see that. I had a friend of mine told me he saw some 13 or 14-year-old kid in Munich, Germany, that was wearing a handmade Decius Doom t-shirt. That made me happier than you could possibly imagine. I didn't even know we had reached over there. Hey.
Well, with MySpace, anything's possible.
Absolutely.
Now, have
our MySpace page has been translated into Japanese.
Have you been able to play any live gigs since the release of your album?
We've done a couple things, not any full-fledged, you know, real shows. We've had some private practices, which we've invited people, and we've had, you know, just different things, nothing too major. We're trying to work out the band member situation and get through some emotional things, you know. It's so hard to play a lot of these songs, knowing where a lot of it came from.
Okay. I understand that your biggest projects was your video, Enemy of the Sun, that took almost a year to complete. Can you tell us about this video and the challenges that went through producing it?
There were a lot of challenges. Illness on my part is one of them. I've been having problems for a while. If you ask me, I think someone put a curse on me, but that happens. A lot of it was just casting was a big issue. As is with a lot of our content, I had to tell people, you know, especially some of the girls we have in the video, hey, is it okay if we get you naked and cover you with blood and have you pretend to slit your wrist? Well, no, I'm sorry, we can't use that. A lot of it had to do with casting and different locations and things like that. And I'm hoping that it won't take us quite as long to get some of the other videos that we have planned done. I was actually just talking to a woman last night. She runs a group in Poland called the Coffin Cruisers.
Wow.
Which actually my wife is a member of. She owns a 1978 Cadillac SS Victoria hearse.
Beautiful.
And that's what all these people do. They own hearses. And when I talked to this woman, I said, hey, I have an idea for a video for a funeral by the bay. Is there any way you could get maybe, you know, 7 to 10 of these hearses to show up for a one-day video shoot? She said it wouldn't be a problem. So I'm hoping to be able to do that video in one day. And we edit it over a period of 2 or 3 days, and it's out there. And that's something else. You know, I sink a lot of money into making videos and things like that, and I don't get anything for them. MTV is sure as hell not going to play them.
I think it's easier if you self-produce them.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm another reference to being a Führer. I usually have complete control over the production process and, you know, opinions of how things are created. Oh, that's right. I was going to tell you why I reference the Third Reich so much. A lot of people think that it's because I have associations or a fondness for Nazis and Hitler and things like that. You know, it's a big piece of history. You know?
Yeah, it's a big piece of history, but, you know, I think it comes across in what you've been going through in your music. Everything that has affected you in your life has just been coming out in your music.
Well, yeah, you know, it's
and if
a lot
you're,
of what I try to do. Like our record that we did in 2006, Pop Death Icon. Mm-hmm. There is actually maybe minute and a half sample of Hitler speaking at some big festival in 1941, I think it was. And a lot of people, why are you using a sample of Hitler? Do you believe in Hitler? I believe he exists at one time. What are you asking me? Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't understand references and things like that I made. If you read Mein Kampf, and again, I will tell you, DJ Tina, and anybody listening, I am not for Nazism and Hitler and things like that. But if you read Mein Kampf, his autobiography that he put out while he was in jail, that he self-produced, by the way, a lot of all that he really tries to get across is that he grew up in a very beautiful country. He loved Austria, and he loved Germany. And all he wanted was for it to be as beautiful as it was. He was a kid. And if you look at it like that, who the hell doesn't want that?
Right.
You know, I grew up in a small town next to Detroit in Michigan, and I went there a couple years ago, and it is nothing like it was.
Wow.
And that's part of evolution. I would give just about anything to get it back to the way it was. I'm not going to go and kill 6 million Jews. That's what Hitler did.
Yeah.
He took it in a wrong direction. There's a big line in history where people had an idea and took it in a bad direction. The kid in Columbine. I'm sure you're familiar with the Columbine shooting, right? Mm-hmm. Another situation in which America is obsessed with violence. The Columbine kid, if you look at the reasons behind they did the shooting, they were sick of being picked on. They were sick of being made fun of. They were sick of the fact that they had things to say and no one was listening to them. And that moves me so very deeply.
You know, that's like people on the internet, and you get certain people in another state or across the country picking on you for no freaking reason at all, and you have to wonder where their mentality is, especially when they don't even know you, right?
Exactly. And the internet, that's one of the downsides of the internet, is that people they feel like they have this permanent anonymity. I'm on the internet, they cannot see me. What I'm doing is not really a crime. Bullshit.
No. But you know what? We had a recent incident here in Canada that happened to...
I feel like I know what you're going to talk about.
That happened to on Facebook, and the lady here lives in Cambridge, and I think she was just being set up so people can steal her money. But she apparently... they were picking on her, and they were calling her down to the dirt. They were dogging on her, and she's about a middle-aged black woman, and it came to the police's attention, and she was able to charge the people that were picking on her, and she ended up suing them and winning in the case.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I actually hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
And see, that's great. Another big thing, the Megan Meyer suicide, if you're all familiar with that. She was a 13-year-old girl who, like most 13-year-old girls, had a MySpace page, and the mother of a rival teen girl, posing as a boy on MySpace, started sending her messages that turned very, very dark, that convinced this little, sweet 13-year-old girl that she was unloved by everyone in the world. And this 13-year-old girl went into her bedroom and hung herself on her fucking coat rack. In her closet, hung herself.
That's sick.
And you know, I'm sorry, there is not a punishment in the world big enough for the woman that did this. I mean, a lot of people, okay, she convinced us still to commit suicide. I don't see it that way. I see it as this girl's last feeling in the world was that she was unloved. That is unimaginable to me. Because, I mean, I personally was diagnosed as a manic depressive when I was very, very young. I am suicidal. I have been for a very long time. I probably will continue to be. And I have those regular bouts of no one in this world can possibly love me. Why am I still here? I should just go ahead and do it kind of thing. In fact, the next to last song, I think it is, on Dying in My Dreams, a song called If I Had a Gun. I wrote that song in a very, very bad depressing state because I felt at that time, if I had a gun, I would have blown my head off straight across the board, and that's what it was.
Yeah, and
what are you thinking about? If I had a gun right now?
There's lots of people that struggle as to why they're here, too, when there are a lot of people that are going through depression. They struggle as to why they're here and try to come up with answers on their own, but, you know, it's hard. It's really tough. I know, my ex was bipolar and my daughter's goes through anxiety. But, yeah, I know where you're coming from when you're speaking about stuff like that. And maybe that's why I was able to read into your songs and to tell and to feel that pain that you're talking about, you know, because I had family members that have gone through that.
See, and I'm sorry as hell for you to have to go through that. I know it's very, very taxing on the human soul to have to deal with that on such a regular basis.
The thing is, you have to have a positive outlook on life. You have to be able to lift their spirits and tell them that, you know, the world's not going to end, you know, and everything's going to be okay.
Everything eventually works itself out.
Yes.
I mean, I get a lot of mail from people that say they understand the things that I'm trying to say and that we're trying to do, and it has to do with the amount of suffering they've been in their life, that it you know, touches on something. Mm-hmm. That kind of, you know, wow, you know, it was my intention, but I had in no way actually figured that what I was trying to say and things were coming through. And it, you know, it freaks me out in a lot of ways. But I have people that tell me that, you know, dude, you're saying about very negative things, but in kind of a positive way.
Yeah.
You tell people to be themselves and be happy for who they are. Why the hell can't you do it? I don't have me to listen to. I'm sorry.
I guess it's hard when you don't have you to listen to, and it's really tough. But you always have the support of people that love you, that are around you to lift you up and to tell you it's okay.
Oh yeah, especially, you know, I have 3 people in my life right now that I contribute a lot to, that I owe a lot to. One of which is my wife, Decadent. She has been with me for over 10 years now, coming close to 11. I don't know how she's managed to do it. I have a good idea of what kind of a person I am to live with. It really speaks to her character that she can deal with my ass 24 hours a day. The other 2 people I actually met just about a year ago, give or take. And I'm a big believer in fate and things meant to happen. And I met them. I was just about 3 or 4 months into making Dying in My Dream, and you know, I was a wreck. Mm-hmm. And I'm just now starting to come to the point where, okay, maybe I can go on without, you know, having my best friend right there. You know, the guy who would help me write riffs and songs and things like that. How the hell am I going to do this without him? I'm just now finally getting to the point where I'm feeling kind of okay. And I owe a lot to these 2 people. It's Rob Bigley and Diane Bigley, his wife. Mm-hmm. And this freaks out a lot of people. They are ministers, both of them. They are attached to the Christian religion. And, you know, people ask me, why minister? Why are you religious? No, 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 no. No, they are wonderful people, as in they have more to do with spirituality than any kind of religious figure. And they talk and they really try to open up your mind. And I met them on a particularly bad night, and of all things, to show what kind of a minister he is, Robert was doing tarot reading for people. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I don't normally do tarot readings, because frankly, I believe in fate, but I kind of like to be surprised. So I go over to him and I said, all right, do my tarot reading. And I cut the deck and I flipped things over, and his reading was, you're going through some really horrible, terrible things right now. Most of what you have to do, you're going to have to do yourself, but dear God, keep doing it. That's basically what his tarot reading was. And I broke down. I started crying. I'm like, oh shit, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And I went home and I went back to the studio and I finished up a couple things, and I got a hold of someone that knew him and said, you're my friend. I didn't ask him. I told him, you're my friend. And now he is around me on a very regular basis. Between my wife and Rob and Diane, they have very much kept me alive while I was going through trying to make that record. And since then, they're all very supportive in ways that I cannot possibly explain. In fact, I really hope that sometime soon here, we're going to get everything squared away and we're going to go on tour, and I'm bringing them with me. In
That's
fact,
a good idea.
Robert said that he wants to open the concerts. He wants to come out in full priest garb, because he is a minister. He has full priest garb. He wants to walk out and say, just so everyone here knows, just for being at this concert, you're all going to hell. Ladies and gentlemen, these two.
It sounds good. I'm not going to ask the band what they think of the music industry, because I know that your hearts and your goals are more of a global scale issue. But what do you hope to see change in the future, and when it comes to society and worldly issues?
Well, as far as the music industry goes, we have a lot of issues with the way a lot of things are handled. We actually started talking to a couple larger record labels. No one is in any means any kind of rush to sign us, because again, I have a lot of demands and requirements. One of which is I get complete control over the use of my music. They will not own them. I will. They don't like that. So there you go. As far as things changing in the world, in one word, peace. Peace is, I said a little while ago, is very appealing to me. And I guess it's because, I've had so much turmoil and problems in my life that I greatly seek peace. And a friend of mine a couple of years ago gave me a wonderful word. He said that I was an empath. It means that I am extremely, I feel the weight of the world coming down on my shoulders at all times. That's why I can't stand to watch the news, because the news it wrecks me. And I pay attention. I guess I pay attention to too much. What would I like to see? I'd like to see peace. I'd like to see, people not yelling at each other for wearing makeup, or a guy wearing a dress. I would like to see someone not yelling at someone else, you're going to hell because you don't believe in the person that I believe in. Well, most people don't believe in the person you believe in. Chances are, statistically, you are not right.
When you're talking about a lot of the ignorance, hopefully people will come to the understanding your music and what Decius Doom is all about, and quit being so ignorant and quit assuming this and quit assuming that, because basically I think that's where all the problem is coming into, is ignorance and jealousy in the world.
Exactly. I said a couple years ago, I said, you want to start with peace? Let's get all the world leaders from every country to stand in a room naked.
Sounds like a good
look
plan.
at each other and go, oh, you're as small as I am. Oh, you really have nukes? No, us either. Let's go. That'd be fine. That's just one way. I like to think that I'll play some kind of importance in something, but, I'm an egomaniac, but not quite to that degree. I don't believe that I can save or change the world, to quote John Lennon. Back to that, full circle. I'm trying to change things on a personal level. I want someone to hear something and go, wow, that's not a way that I thought of that before. Or, okay, look at this person example. Maybe I could try to, I don't want to change people drastically. I just want to give them ideas. Mm-hmm. So, hey, have you thought of this? Look at what I've been through. Don't do what I've done.
Yeah, right.
Change starts with an individual. I'm a big believer in that. If a couple hundred people have listened to something that I've said, get this unified idea that peace is a good thing and we should all get together and kind of just welcome existence and stop trying to destroy everything.
Right.
Maybe hopefully then they'll go out and they'll get involved. They get involved with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence or the ASPCA. Big fan of that. Go out and get involved. Find other people that think like you do and build off that. It's finding that thing that speaks to you and using that as a tool. I am nothing but a tool. That didn't sound good. I'm just trying to give people ideas. Let them see it and do whatever they want with it, as long as it's in a positive direction.
Right.
But a lot of what I say and a lot of what I do is very negative. And if I have to stand in front of people and be their negative example, fine.
Do you ever stop to think about doing something positive for yourself for a change? To think about yourself and just maybe come to Canada for a visit and get away from all that hustle and bustle? And
honestly, when I get better, I have a lot of traveling I would like to do, and Canada would be one of them. I don't have a lot of plans as of yet. I don't have a hotel, so I might be coming to stay with you.
Bring your wife.
Absolutely. Something positive for me, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because what I think would inspire you is just to get away from all that hustle and bustle and just to be alone with your wife in some peaceful environment. Maybe, walk along the woods, the riverfront, maybe along the oceanfront.
I can't say that I wouldn't love that.
I know you and your wife would.
I absolutely know that we would. But, the reason that I don't spend a lot of time focusing on positive things for myself and things like that is because, this is not a giant announcement, but life is really short. And especially, I'm 24 years old. I'm about to be 25. I lost my best friend. He was 27 at the time. Things happen. Things can be taken away from you right quick. And it's the thought that if I keep doing videos and keep doing music and releasing records and shows and different things like that, I'm going to try to reach as many people as I can before I tap out, so to speak. If I have to put myself through hell, so be it. I think every musician would like to drop dead at the very end of their last song on stage. I think that's what we all hope for.
Well, I get a lot of musicians to say that once the album is done and the funds taken out of producing it, it's like taking a gun and shooting the album because it's finished. That's an
interesting way to look at it, but producing and recording and things like that's the hardest part for me because I'm tapping into new things and it's getting out there to the people that I think are the most fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to shoot the record. Are you kidding me? I just made it live.
Yeah, you want to keep it alive. Keep the fire going.
Exactly, yeah. I'm an insomniac. I really don't sleep. I have a studio at my home, so I'm usually always writing or recording or coming up with something. I have 11 guitars just in my bedroom alone. So,
wow.
I surround myself constantly with what I do. And as much as a nice little break will get away from it, the fact of the matter is I can't get away from my own mind. And no matter what I do, I go on vacation somewhere, I'm still writing, I'm still working, I'm still thinking about stuff. Just because I go to a new city, that's a new channel of news that I watch that tells me there's a whole bunch of really bad things going on in that town too.
But it's not just, there's some good things too. It's not just all bad in the world. We do have some good things.
Oh, believe me, I know. I know. I try to look at the bright side of things. Believe me, Robert Figley is a big fan of Monty Python. Every chance he gets, he starts telling me, always look on the bright side of life. I think that's funny. The influence that I get in my life is positive as the people around me. I am not a positive person. I try. I try to a certain degree, but it's hard to write something about how sunny it is outside when it's always raining. And there's always something. I got an email a couple days ago from a girl who said that her friend was a fan of my band. She was actually on my MySpace page. And some guy broke into her apartment and strangled her with her USB cord.
Oh my God.
Lit the house on fire to try to hide the crime. And it was like, I can't get away from things like that. I could go and walk along the beach and hang out in the woods and dance naked under a full moon. Believe me, very appealing. But it's not going to get rid of the way my mind works.
Yeah, you're very. It seems to me
what's
that
going on and possibly change something.
Yeah.
I show up at protest rallies and events and things like that.
You seem to be very sensitive as to what. You seem to be very sensitive as to what goes on in the world. What would happen if you were to become a politician? The next prime minister, perhaps.
What would happen if I was a politician?
Or the next
assassinated in the first 6 months.
What would you do if you were prime minister? How would you change the world?
How would I change the world? Again, that Buddhist book that I recently read had a great quote. You can understand everything about life as soon as you acknowledge the fact that there's no creature on this planet that wants to experience suffering.
Right.
We all want happiness, and we all want to avoid suffering. Really, if you look at it like that, you kind of look at people a little differently. You see someone acting stupid. Well, why are you doing that? You're making me suffer a little bit. Tell me why you're doing this. It's because you're drunk and you're trying to get happy. Okay, maybe you don't need the alcohol to try to find that happiness in your life. Find the things that make you happy. Put that around you.
Yeah.
People do a lot of destructive things in the name of happiness, and it's very ironic and it's very sad. I think there's a lot of countries that have bombs and nuclear weapons and things like that, and there's no reason for it. They think that we're going to bomb them, that we're going to try to start a war with them. If that was kind of like, we don't want to suffer. You want to suffer? No? Okay, let's go from there.
Yeah.
Another great thing about Canada. When was the last time you heard Canada involved in a war? Really?
It was a long time.
It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a while, yes.
So, yeah, I don't like to say that I'm sensitive, because it's one of those weird words that people interpret differently. What do you mean you're sensitive? Like you're all emotional emotional all the time and things like that. No, I'm not really weepy, although I've made several references to crying already. That does not make me appeal to be very strong. I take a lot of my unhappiness and things like that and my sensitivity to issues, and I've transformed them into anger. I am a very angry person. That's why, actually, our record in 2004 was called The High Priest of Hatred, because that's kind of how I see myself. A very hateful, angry person. And it's because that I see things. I saw a woman just yesterday, kick her dog. I mean, big German Shepherd hauled up, kicked it in the rib. And, a sensitive person went like, oh, that poor dog, oh my God. The angry person, which I am, yelled at the woman, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you just kick that dog? Yeah, I told her to. You kick that dog again, I kick you. I guarantee you, she'll be nicer to that dog. At least in front of my house.
Yeah, that's not right.
But I mean, yeah, I'm really in tune, I think, with a lot of things that are going on. I don't like it. I really don't. I don't like the fact that I wake up in the morning and the first thing I think about is the horrible thing that happened yesterday. But, it influences me. It creates whatever it creates, and it puts whatever energy that I have in me out into the world, and that's fun. I use really horrific imagery and controversial themes because I'm giving them as an example. Hey, look at this. This is horrible. Don't do this.
It really comes off really strong in your lyrics and your music content. I could just see one of your live shows. You could probably put on a killer shows, and the energy coming from those kids at a live show, I can just picture it in my mind, like what the energy would be like. It would be wild.
It's been interesting. I mean, we haven't gotten to do anything for the material for Dying in My Dreams. We've done shows before, not for this most recent record because of the problems that we've had financially and with members and things like that. But we have done shows before, and the shows, yeah, there is that energy. And sometimes the energy, I'll flat out tell you, scares the shit out of me because sometimes that energy is, I've read articles in which people that were at the Rolling Stones concert at Altamont, they said, there was this energy there. You knew someone was going to die. And sometimes I feel that, and I'm like, no, should I tone this down for a little bit? I'm really afraid you're going to freak out and fucking kill somebody tonight. And it's passion.
Yeah.
And I like passion. Passion is a very good thing. And, sometimes you put passion towards good things and sometimes you don't. And you just got to realize what's worth it, War? We've had a war going on now for, 5 years, 6 years, something like that?
I think so, yes.
There's no reason for that. There's really not. They said that we went to war for weapons of mass destruction. We didn't find any. We went to war to find Osama bin Laden. We didn't find him.
No.
We went to war to find Saddam Hussein. We found him. Why are we still there? One of my closest officers, one of my security guys, just got word that he's in the military, has been for a few years, and he just got word sometime in the next 6 months they're sending him overseas. It's like, I love you, brother, and that's scary as hell.
Yeah, it is.
There's no reason for that. And it's because I know him that I see the news. We are pulling troops out. Okay, I just got a phone call said you're putting more in.
Oh, brother.
Why is that?
Scary.
It's very scary,
Yeah.
Just find passion in life, find the things that give you peace, and try to influence other people with it.
Before we wrap up our interview, do you have any last words?
In terms of this band, in terms of me and the things we do, expect nothing.
Okay. Can we see you tour in Canada soon?
We get the opportunity to. We're going to get we've talked to Brian Smith about jumping on to be our drummer for a tour, and we have all the members in place right now. They're just learning some of the old songs, and we're getting things down. And honestly, I have the opportunity to. You will see me every city in the United States, every city in Canada. If they let me, I will go to Europe. We will go to Japan. Any place where someone can possibly get any kind of a message from what we do, we will be there. As long as they don't arrest us, which they have before.
Oh, my God.
Again, you do certain things, and it affects people in different ways.
Yeah.
I have gotten in trouble for several performances before, and I welcome it, whatever.
Yeah.
Let them arrest me. That's fine. Just let me take off my makeup before I get thrown into the cell, okay?
Yep, that's true. Okay, thank you to Decius Doom for allowing HMTV Canada to interview your band. Horns high, because you rock.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.